Well, I just did the J35 power on stall spin video, and it really got me thinking about power on stalls and where they might occur. It might occur when you're practicing a power on stall and you goof it up a little bit and you end up in an accelerated spin, and maybe not quite a flat spin, but an accelerated spin with two pro spin inputs being power and forward stick. But it really occurred to me that the primary way that it might happen on a day-to-day basis is in a go-around. So that's what we're going to try. Stick with us on Flywire. Hey, I'm Scott Perdue, and today on Flywire, we're going to go try a go-around stall, configured, gear, flaps, all that stuff, trimmed for landing, and then we're going to do the, oh my gosh, full power, and we're going to see what happens and see if we end up in a power on stall spin situation, and then we'll recover from it, and we'll see how it goes. I'll do a power on stall clean to see what the difference is, and you're going to see it's really high pitch attitude. But anyway, let's go fly. All right, we're climbing for 8,500 feet. We're going to set up for a approach to landing.
Lost traffic, 6 Papa Sierra.
We'll be all configured,
one way.
gear, flaps, etc. And we're going to then trim for 76 knots. That's our setup for the go-around. We'll go around, we're all trimmed out, and we'll just add full power. And we'll see what that does to the airplane and how much pitch. If it's an A36, the airplane is very trim. It's very much a trim airplane, and you'll see a lot more units than in the F-35 here. It's just that whole plug and where the CG is in relation to the tail. So it requires a lot more trim in the landing configured attitude. But this airplane still, the F-33 or the V-35, still requires a good bit of trim. So we're going to see how that works and see what the reaction is. Okay, my objective is actually not to get into a flat spin, an accelerated spin. If we do depart, I'm going to do a spin prevent, and we're going to essentially see it start to depart, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. So one of my objectives here is to have lots of altitude. That's where we're going to 8,500. So we've got about 7,000-ish feet to play with. And we're going to be over close to Mineral Wells, and I'm taking all precautions. You can see I'm wearing my parachute. 200 to go. Okay. Comes the gear. There goes the autopilot. There's the flaps. Alright, flaps are down, set them to neutral, 76 knots, hands off, doing pretty good. Alright, there's 76, go around, we're just going to hold that. It's 15 degrees, nose up. It's requiring quite a bit of right rudder here. 56 knots. There's a stall warning. There's the spin, the start of the spin, and we're just going to unload and recover. I guess I don't have the guts to actually do that fully, so Let's try another evolution with a little bit more abrupt. Alright, here we go. 25. Alright, that's the rotation right there. That's the departure, and it would drop off into a spin, and with power it would turn accelerated flat. So that's the recovery. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the gear up. Pull the power so we don't accelerate. Flaps up. There's the buffet right there. Flaps are up. Gear is up. Power. That's 30 degrees of pitch. And it took a lot of rudder there to keep it going straight. I don't have the guts to do that. Sorry. And I think the lesson learned out of that is that a properly done maneuver, it's not a huge worry. In other words, you could do it without flirting with the edge, but if you jam it really hard, really fast, then you're going to be really close to that departure. The airplane was trying to depart, and I was preventing it from doing that by using rudder and the unload. It wasn't an aggressive unload, so that's a kind of a lesson learned, something to remember.
Well, there you have it. Power on stall from a go-around, and just for good measure, we did one clean configuration. And I think you could see that it just wasn't the big bad bear that's going to bite you right away. Okay, I'll be the first one to admit that I couldn't do abrupt control movements, which is how I think that what probably happened in the J-35 accident. He was using about the same power setting I was at 8,500 feet, and I think he just, oh my gosh, he shoved the stick forward, and then you saw it departing. Both times we did it, it was trying to go off to the left and nose slicing to the left, that left wing dropping. So it would have gone into a left spin fairly quickly. What I did was the spin prevent. Okay, that's what my view of UPRT, the main goal is to learn not to do spins and how to recover from spins. It's how to prevent them. It's how to recognize the first indication of a departure and then stop it from happening. And that's unload and opposite rudder to the slice at the same time, simultaneously. Big word, but both at the same time. If you want to use aileron, as long as you're using coordinated rudder, I'm good with that. But unload, opposite rudder, and that way you stop the yaw and you stop the stall at the same time. And that'll minimize your altitude loss as well. So don't let it get into a real aggravated condition. But I think you could see that with power on like that, I think a large part of that break to the left in both situations was as a result of the torque and P factor that was being exerted by the prop in that situation, the power on. So, but it was kind of benign. It wasn't a big bear, and the pitch angle was pretty considerable. The pitch angle in the power on stall in the clean configuration, as I remember, was over 30. I'll check the tape, but actually you just saw it. I'm using memory right now, but I think it was over 30 degrees, and that's pretty high. Pretty high for normal people who go out and fly their regular GA airplanes that aren't an aerobatic one. Quick note on that is abrupt control movements. I don't believe in abrupt control movements in GA at all, period, dot, at any time, because the GA airplanes are just not designed that way. Fighters are. You fly in fighters, and, you know, frankly, if I was flying a Warbird, a Mustang Corsair, or something like that, I'm not going to use abrupt control movements there either, because it's an old airplane. and I'm going to treat it like that. You don't know how it was mistreated in its past, like this airplane was a KLM pilot trainer for a long time, and then it was also ended up being a UPRT trainer for All Nippon Airways for a number of years. So it's done a lot of spins. It's done a lot of aerobatics in the past. I don't know how many G's it's pulled. And the thing about steel or metal is it's got a memory. Aluminum and steel has a memory, and I don't want to test those aluminum spars and see how good their memory is, or how many dislocations are lurking in the background there. So me, I'm actually a 4G guy. This is a 6G plus 6 minus 3 airplane. I don't go anywhere near that. I go to 4. That's my G limit. That leaves me a margin for any problems. So I preach that, I teach that, and I think you ought to consider doing that too. No abrupt control movements at any time. So I hope you learned something. I hope you realize that the power on stalls aren't the big bad bear, but you get really close. You get into that regime where you can do a departure and then you're into an accelerated spin in a heartbeat. And if you're not prepared to recover from that, you're in trouble. So don't screw it up. Idle, neutral, aft. What direction are you spinning? Use the opposite rudder, okay? When the yaw stops, and actually just as the yaw starts slowing down, you use forward to just forward to neutral on the stick, and then neutralize the rudder and recover from the dive. And that's a spin recovery for any situation. If you're upside down or whatever, that sets you up for recovery. You don't have to go, am I upright or am I inverted? You know, that's not a big deal. It is a big deal if you don't know. So that's what the spin recovery system is designed to do for you, not having the essay of where you are, how you got into that spin. Maximize your chances of recovery. The best thing to do is a spin prevent. If you notice this nose slicing, and it's unload and opposite rudder to the slice, and if you use aileron, like I said, it's coordinated, that's fine. And then once you're flying again, recover from the dive, and off you go. Don't do that again. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. And if you did, hit like and subscribe. It looks a bit like this here. And I'd like to thank my Flywire Patreon supporters here as well. Appreciate y'all. And I'll leave a link below if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Flywire.